Today, we are going to revisit the sports card therapist topic very quickly because I did in fact get a response from Card Ladder regarding the two private sales that Rob, the sports card therapist, submitted himself to their platform. Now, to give you guys some context, we spoke about the allegations and then admission of guilt from the sports card therapist in my last video, and I spoke about some very interesting comments he had towards the end of that video. Now, if you want to see my initial response to this, please do check it out on screen over there. But the comments were quite interesting because he had the accusations and then the admission of guilt for shill bidding and not paying for an auction, I should say. And he basically said, well, he doesn't actually want to shill bid and push these prices up because, in fact, he wants the prices to come down. And he used the example of the fact that he submitted a private sale to Card Ladder to, give a low comp for the Eli Manning card. Now, as I did explain in that video, that raised a lot of questions, but I did a bit of digging on how Card Ladder actually works and what their vetting process looks like for these things, for the private sales, I should say. And it seemed a bit interesting. So I made a reel on Instagram that Card Ladder actually responded to. Now, the reel in question is what you can sort of see on screen right now. And I basically say, as you can see on screen, given the way things have transpired in the last 24 to 48 hours, I think it would be very wise for Card Ladder to do an audit of any and all private comps he submitted. Now, the reason why I thought this was interesting is because what this video basically says from Chris from Card Ladder is that, one of the things they rely on for the private comp, approval process, and they do other things to vet this stuff first, is that they rely on the fact that the person has, a public standing within the hobby, right? They've got a big account, they're a big content creator, and that is key for them deciding whether or not, a private comp could go into the platform. And it's one of the steps. And my question was, well, how much leeway actually goes to some of these content creators? If he were to take, Rob, the sports card therapist, as doing the non-payment as intentional, right? He wants to push the price up. Who's to say he wasn't also trying to reduce comps via Card Ladder so he would submit fake comps? And that was an interesting question to sort of ask them, right? And I did, in fact, get a response from them. And what they essentially talked to is that, the information that came to light in the last few days regarding Rob meant they had to revisit his credibility status as part of that private sale vetting, and they've removed the items that he had previously submitted as private comps. Now, they did confirm that there was only ever two sales that Rob submitted, both of which he was the buyer, one being the Eli Manning that he mentioned in his now deleted apology video, which was a purchase for $225. It was an Eli Manning 2014 Flawless Patches Ruby out of 15. It was a PSA 9, as well as a $5,900 Patrick Mahomes 2017 NT Rookie Signatures, a BGS 9 with an Auto 10. Both of which have now been removed from their platform, given that he's no longer considered a credible member of the hobby. Now, the topic of Card Ladder and the whole private sale and vetting process is probably a discussion for another day. I'm talking to Chris at the moment to try and get a bit more of an understanding as to how it actually works, because I still stand by the comments I made the other day that I think the private sale vetting process just seems very weird to me. I don't think it's wise for a business to be having that function. And I know it's a sort of game changer for them, as I did explain in my Instagram post, but it's a very hard thing to effectively police, right? You can have people like Rob who may have done this disingenuously to push sales in there to push prices down, right? How much of that else is happening out there? And it's a very hard thing to police. So say what you want about Card Ladder, but that's something I want to think about a little bit further and talk to maybe at a later date. It's just a very curious one overall, and is made a bit more suspicious given that Rob in the last, 24 hours has essentially deleted everything. His YouTube channel, he's deleted all his videos, his podcasts, everything has been wiped clean off the internet apart from the things that people have been able to save down, which is a very strange move in my opinion if all he did was not pay for two auctions. Now, I'm not trying to downplay the fact that he didn't pay for those things, but, in the grand scheme of things, them not being paid for, is that enough reason for you to delete everything? I think that is a little bit strange in my opinion. Maybe he's gone into hiding because he's getting so much hate, but I don't think that justifies deleting everything. It almost looks like he's trying to cover his tracks, like what we saw in the whole card porn situation when they got caught with that fake MJ jersey situation. So I'm really keen to sort of hear what you guys have to say. I mentioned in my last video that he was looking to go on a live stream with AIH Sports or P. Ryan. He also offered to do that with me, but he's not responded to me because he's obviously deleted his Instagram account. I would still be interested in doing that, but I want to be very clear because I had a few people in the comments say, like, what's the point? And the guy's pretty guilty. I think the reason why it would be interesting is because I'd want to ask maybe 3 or 4 questions and then sort of leave it there. The main question I'd want to understand is for him, or to ask him actually, to share his, purchase history on eBay and let us see whether or not this has happened multiple times, i.e. non-paying for items, because we only know in fact 2. And, from our perspective as a hobby, we have sort of an obligation to understand that. And some of you guys will say, why? Why do we need to know more? The guy's already guilty. What's the point? The point being is that if there are other individuals out there that have been forced to pay a little bit more, like Rob said he wants to do in this instance, he wants to make it financially right. That doesn't justify the behavior, but I'd like to know if there's other people out there that have been forced to pay more as a result of him, and I would like him to make it financially right for those individuals as well. So that's the reason to talk about it, not necessarily to shit on him, but to find how many other people have been burned off the back of that. Now, it's also a bit disappointing to see these sales go into card ladder that maybe people have relied upon. Again, that's pretty poor form, in my opinion, of him, if he has in fact, manipulated those and they are in fact fake. Card ladder stand by, their process per what they told me with what they go through to vet things. It's not just taking it from a social media influencer, but again, like I said a little bit earlier, outside looking in, it's a very hard thing to police. How do you know that this stuff is justified? How do you know it's not, two people, two mates putting fictitious transactions together, actually transferring money, sending those bank statements? In reality, they're trying to push the prices down. I just think it's, a strange thing to police. So I'm really keen to hear what you guys have to say. I find this whole situation so odd, to go from an apology video and then deleting it and then talk about private sales and then delete everything. It's weird to me. It tells me that there's a lot more out there. Now, I think the hobby's given its point and its voice on this and its opinion on this already. So I'd be curious to see what Rob tries to do if he ever does try and come back. But it's just an odd one. So please share your thoughts down in the comments below. It's just another case that I didn't talk to enough yesterday, actually. I will say this. It is very disappointing once again to have, somebody with such a big following in this space, big sponsors and things like that, given this platform that then does crap like this. And it's one of those things that I've talked to over the last 2 to 3 years. And I'm not hating on the fact that people have sponsors. It's just one of those things where these businesses within this hobby have let us down within this hobby as customers, as collectors, because they've thrown money at the wrong people. They've thrown money at people that are sort of learning and they've just got back into cards, and all of a sudden they get a platform and they're giving you a voice of reason, when in reality, they don't know a heck of a lot about the hobby. Now, I'm not shitting on people for being new or anything like that. I'm just trying to say that you've had these people get put on these pedestals, right? They've been put up as pillars of the hobby. They've had a lot of money thrown at them. People listen to them, and then they go ahead and act like this. You had Rob now do this. You've had Shayway Vlogs. You've had Card Porn, if not dozens of others that I can't even think of right now. Justin Gamble. You've had all these people have money thrown at them. But really, should they have been given money by these businesses in the first place? And again, I think that's the question we need to ask back to these businesses for how amateur they actually are. They're giving money to people that not necessarily don't deserve it, but they should be vetting this crap a heck of a lot further, because, it's almost no coincidence how many of these guys that have gone down over the last 2 to 3 years have been sponsored in the first place. Like, it seems to be almost every single one of them, which is shocking to me. Like, I just don't get it. You're getting paid and you still want to try and rip people off. Like, what the fuck are you doing, guys? How greedy do you have to be? So apologies for that rant. This video ended up being way longer than I thought it was going to be. I wanted it to be 3 or 4 minutes, so I do apologize. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.